Amen. Last week we didn't meet. We were doing that family fun night. Some of us were, and then the week before we met, then the week before that it was VBS. So it's just been kind of a weird little season, but we're kind of done with interruptions on Wednesday night until Thanksgiving. So till this Wednesday before Thanksgiving probably, and then we'll do our night of thanks. So we'll kind of get into a groove here. But Proverbs 26, this tells us there in verse 1, it says, "As snow in the summer and rain in the harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool." And Proverbs 26 is pretty much all about a fool. A lot of the Proverbs are about a fool, but specifically Proverbs 26, the idea is just talking about foolishness. And he uses a lot of really good imageries in Proverbs 26 to describe what a fool is like. And here in verse 1, he says, just like snow in the summertime, or like rain in the harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Or it's not right, or it's even not good. To have snow in the summertime, that's just not how it's supposed to be. That's not the season for snow. Or rain in the harvest, that's not good. If 2 days ago you cut your hay, and then you had yesterday and today of it getting rained on, you don't really want rain during the time of harvest because that can ruin things and create mold. He goes, in the same way, honor is not fitting for a fool. Honor just doesn't fit into the life of a fool. You got fool, you got honor, and honor just doesn't fit. It's not fitting for a fool. Verse 2, he says, like a flittering sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse without a cause shall not alight. A flittering sparrow, like a flying swallow, a little bird that's flying over here and over there, just like that happens, he says, so a curse without a cause shall not alight. Or a little bird flies a little ways, but it can't go too far, and then it rests and it gets up and it flies again, and then it flies again. These more sparrowy type birds instead of these big soaring birds that can go a long time. Just like a bird, just goes around a little by little, doesn't really get very far, doesn't really get much place. So too, a curse that's set against you without a cause is not going to get anywhere. It's not going to affect you. Sometimes we can be very worried that someone could curse us. And a few things. One is believers. We understand that he who is in us is greater than he who is in the world. And I would argue the blood of Jesus kind of covers any type of curse that someone might try to put over us in that type of sense. But also a curse without a cause, he says here, it's just not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get very far. It's just going to be like a bird fluttering around. Verse 3, a whip for a horse and a bridle for a donkey and a rod for the fool's back. These things are for these things. A whip for a horse. You use a whip on a horse. Sometimes you use a bridle on a donkey to control its head to get it going in a direction you want it. And so to a rod for the fool's back. The idea is you can't teach a fool. They're not open to learn. There's only one way to get them to do what you want them to do, and that's by force. That's by a rod. It's probably not wise to hit people too much these days, but that's one way of dealing with a fool. Verse 4. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. Answer a fool, verse 5, according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. And I wonder if while this is being written, because we actually saw, if you remember, I think it was even in chapter 25, it is. Yeah, in chapter 25, verse 1, we learned that this section of these Proverbs, it says, these also are Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied. So Solomon wrote all these, yet these men of Hezekiah later on are compiling this section of Proverbs. And I wonder if while they're compiling Proverbs 26, 4, and 5, if they kind of laughed because it looks just like a flat-out contradiction at first. Verse 4 says something, then verse 5 appears to say the exact opposite thing as verse 4. Verse 4 says, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. Verse 5 says, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. So the first thing we're learning in verse 4, when he says, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him, he's telling us, do not answer a fool with foolishness. Sometimes we're going to be tempted when someone's a smart aleck, we kind of, respond back with the same tone that they used with us. If someone's a fool, we can respond back foolishly. Don't go down that road because If you answer a fool according to his folly, you're going to be like him. Verse 5, he says, but you can answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. So there's one level when you're dealing with foolish people where you don't even really want to answer them. You don't even want to maybe give them a response or get into it with them because they're not going to listen anyway. And it's just like arguing with a wall or something. But there's also a time when you're dealing with foolish people where they need a correction, lest, end of verse 5, this fool walks away thinking he's wise in his own eyes. So, yeah, I really, told them. I really straightened Hagen out. He just stood there and smiled at me. It's like, maybe there's a time to be like, actually, you're wrong here, and you can correct them in that. And honestly, a great example of someone doing this in the Bible, correcting someone when someone's being foolish, is in Job chapter 2, verse number 10. In Job chapter 2, verse 10, Job's issues have begun. His trials have started. He's being attacked by the enemy, and his health has been attacked, and he's lost a lot of what he once had. And in Job 2:10, it says, first his wife says in Job 2:9, then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. Which isn't a good thing to say, but honestly, we can get pretty hard on Job's wife, but I see where she's coming from. Like it's not hard to understand how she could get to this conclusion of, Job, just give up. Like, how are you supposed to sing, just like we sing tonight, the goodness of God, when you see all of the things that God's allowing you to go through? This is a legitimate thing she's struggling with. Verse 10 says, but he, Job, said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity? And all this Job did not sin with his lips. When Job saw foolishness, he saw folly coming out of the mouth of his wife, he corrected her. He said, no. He didn't just sit there, he didn't just nod, he didn't just smile. He said, actually, you're wrong, because if we're going to just open up our hands and be like, Lord, bring on the goodness, and just always receive this goodness from God, if God would want to allow adversary in our life, trials, how come we say no to the trials, but yes to the blessing? His point is, God gets to do what he wants with my life. And that's what he reminds his wife of there as she's acting in this state of foolishness. So Job is a good example of Proverbs 26:5, of answering a fool according to their folly, lest they be wise in their own eyes. Verse 6 goes on to say, he who sends a message by the hand of the fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. You got an important message you need to have traveled somewhere, and you send a fool to be your mouthpiece, your messenger, you might as well just chop the guy's feet off. Like that's the logic he's saying. You don't want to give fools important messages because they're not able to handle it. And on that same idea, he says in verse 7, like the legs of a lame that hang limp, is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Just like the legs of a lame person, they're not going anywhere with them. A proverb in the mouth of the fool is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get into their heart. It's not going to gain them wisdom. It's not going to change the way they live their lives. Verse 8, like one who binds a stone in a sling is he who gives honor to a fool. Now, the purpose of a sling is to fling. You put a rock in a sling so you can twirl it, let it go so it'll fling. If you bind the stone in the sling, you're going to tie it to the sling. The sling can no longer fling, and you're going to let go of it, and instead of the rock shooting at the sling, it's just going to not do what it's supposed to do. He says, in that same way is someone who gives honor to a fool. Honor has no place in the life of someone who's foolish. Verse 9, like the thorn that goes into the hand of the drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Sometimes when people are really drunk, they don't even realize what's happening to them. You can get someone who's just really wasted and they can, shove a thorn through their hand and they don't even realize it because they're just like so sauced. He goes, just like that, just like a thorn that goes right into the hand of a drunkard, so is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Again, it's not accomplishing anything. They're not realizing the value of what they have. Verse 10, the great God who formed everything gives the fool his hire and the transgressor his wages. Kind of an interesting verse that's right there in the middle of all this negative talk about fool, but then Solomon just reminds us, but it's the God, the great God who formed everything, who is giving to the fool what he deserves, as well as the transgressor what he deserves. And then Proverbs 26, verse 11, this is just a perfect imagery. And if you got a dog, you know. Proverbs 26:11. As a dog returns to his own vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. That's imagery for you. Now, Trapper went through a season where every time he ate, he was throwing up and re-eating his food. I don't know. I have a theory that it's actually the city water that I make him drink. I should probably give him filtered water like I drink. But yeah, I have a feeling it's probably the city water sometimes that makes him sick. But anyway, he'll just like eat, and then he will just upchuck that stuff, and then he just eats it again. And Solomon goes, just like your dog throwing up and returning to it and eating it up, so too is a fool who just keeps repeating the same foolishness. Or we could almost look at it in our lives like this. Just like a dog returning its vomit is like us returning to our foolishness or returning to our sin. When we keep going back to the same sins that Jesus has set us free from, that's just about as pleasant as a dog going back to the thing that was once inside of its stomach and now left its esophagus and now it's touching its tongue again. Yuck. Not real pleasant. Verse 12, do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for him. He's talking a lot of bad things about foolish people, a lot of reality. It's just not wise to be a fool, obviously. Because you want to see someone who's worse off than a fool, and that's a man who's wise in his own eyes. And that's the only eyes that this man is wise in. He's not wise in anyone else's eyes, but his own eyes, he thinks, I'm the smartest in the room. I know the most things about everything. No one can teach me anything. That guy's worse off than a fool, he says. Verse 13, now he's going to talk about laziness or sluggardness. He says, the lazy man says, oh, there's a lion in the road, and a fierce lion is in the streets. This is just an excuse. He says a lazy man comes up with an excuse. Oh, I can't go outside. I can't work because there might be lions out there. So my excuse is I got to stay inside because what if I go outside and there's a lion? So a lazy man always has an excuse, we could say. Verse 14, and as a door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy man on his bed. As a door just turns, just kind of rolls on its hinges, a lazy man just rolls over in his bed. Not getting out of bed is the picture, but just, alarm goes off, rolls back over. And honestly, just this morning, I thought of this verse when my alarm went off. Because it's like, and I did roll over. And I did close my eyes for a little bit more, and then that second alarm went off, and I thought, I got to get out of bed. Because Proverbs says I can't be like a door hinge. So I got up. Verse 15, the lazy man, he buries his hand into the bowl, and it wearies him to bring it back to his mouth. Eating those Cheetos or Funyuns or whatever you like. You just shove your hand into that bowl, and you're so lazy, it wearies you, it tires you out to even just go from here to there, he says. Verse 16, the lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Again, thinks he's the smartest guy to ever walk the face of the earth. Verse 17, who passed by and meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a dog by the ears. Or the odds of you getting bit by just grabbing a hold of a dog by the ears are pretty high. He goes, and so too, someone who just passes by a situation and decides, I should meddle. I should get in the middle of something that's none of my business. You're liable to get bit. It's probably not going to turn out too well for you. And more than once in the book of Proverbs, Solomon warns against meddling. He encourages us to just kind of mind our own business. You know, sometimes we really enjoy just putting ourselves in the middle of other people's drama, and unless we can directly help in some sort of situation, then it's best to just kind of keep yourself. That idea of meddle, actually, in the Hebrew, he who passes by and meddles, it's like someone who like finds pleasure in or gets satisfaction out of. It's like, here's this, beef going down with these two, and I jump right in, and man, I'm just, getting satisfaction from being in the middle of this drama. That's the idea of meddling. You might as well just go grab random dogs by the ears and get bit. Verse 18, like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death, is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking. I'm a funny guy, though. right? I'm just always joking around. And it's like you mess with your neighbors and you deceive them and you do this whole thing, and then it comes out that you were lying, and you're like, it's just a joke. He goes, no, not cool, not funny. The guy who's always just saying, oh, I'm just joking, when he actually does serious things, he goes, that's kind of a foolish guy as well. Verse 20, this is really good. Proverbs 26:20. Where there is no wood, the fire goes out. And where there is no talebearer or gossip, strife ceases. You got a fire in your fireplace. You want it to stop burning? Stop feeding it wood. No wood, no fire. So too, where there is no talebearer, where there's no gossip, the strife ceases. Or we could say this way, just like you take wood away from the fire and the fire stops burning, if you stop talking about the situation dies out. The thing that keeps it alive is the constant chatter about it. And this is true on a small level in your home or in the neighborhood or amongst a church, but it's true on a national level. I mean, this is what the news operates on, this idea. You know, things get in the news cycle and it just feeds off each other. And as long as they keep talking about it, the drama keeps spinning until something else comes along and they drop that idea and they jump on the next thing. Where there is no fire or where there is no wood, there is no fire. So if there's always kind of drama going around, try not talking about it and watch how it just kind of dies. There's no more fuel to keep it going. Verse 21, as charcoal is to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. Just like charcoal, they're burning to burning coals, keeping it going, and wood is to a fire, fuel that keeps it going, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. A guy always looking out to, cause strife amongst people, always stirring the pot and causing problems. The word of a talebearer are like tasty truffles, and they go down into the inmost body. Tastes good, entertaining, it pleases you for a little bit, but there's really no value in it. It's not helping you at all. Verse 23, fervent lips with a wicked heart are like earthenware covered with silver dross. Fervent lips with a wicked heart, saying the right things, always, buttering you up and saying these things, but in reality, the person actually doesn't really like you that much. That's just like an earthenware, just like a clay pot that's just covered with silver. You're thinking this thing's solid silver, wow, this is valuable, but it's actually not. It's just Play-Doh. And that's how someone who is just, fervent lips, always talking you up in front of your face, but then behind your back, they're not a big fan of you. Verse 24, he who hates disguises it with his lips and lays up deceit within himself. When he speaks kindly, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. When the guy who you don't get along with says nice things to you, watch out for that, because he probably doesn't mean it, he says. When he speaks kindly, don't believe him, because there's these issues in his heart that are actually haven't been dealt with. Though, verse 26, his hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness will be revealed before the assembly. He's trying to hide his hatred by saying all these nice things, but it's just covered up by lies, by deceit, and he will be exposed one day. Verse 27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone will have it rolled back on him. These people who are out to get you, oh, I'm going to trap him, I'm going to dig a pit and, cover it up, and he's going to fall into it. Well, in them digging their pit for you, they're going to end up falling into it. It's going to get them, Solomon says. Or, I'm going to roll this stone and it's going to squish you, but in them trying to get the stone to roll on you, it's actually going to end up rolling on them. And a great example of this in the Bible is there in Esther chapter 7, when Hagen has this great plan that he's going to make these gallows to hang Mordecai, and then instead he gets hung on the very gallows he built. In Esther chapter 7, verses 9 and 10 says, now Harbonah, one of the eunuchs, said to the king, look, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good on the king's behalf, is standing at the house of Haman." Then the king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath subsided. Hang him on his gallows. Hanging Haman. Hanging Haman. That's what they're doing. They're hanging him. And it gets him. The very thing he created to try to get the guy he couldn't stand ends up doing him in. And Solomon goes, that happens. These people are out to get you, but they'll get caught in their own traps. And it'll happen to you. You're out to get people. You'll get caught in your own trap. Verse 28 of Proverbs 26, "The lying tongue hates those who are crushed by it, and a flattering mouth works ruins." Again, just discouraging about lying, and in the same way discouraging against flattery, because in a sense, flattery is just, it's similar to lying in that you don't ultimately really mean what you're saying. Compliments are good, but flattery is kind of an emptiness that you're saying just to try to butter people up for whatever motive you have. Proverbs 27, verse 1, he says, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring forth." Don't boast, don't brag about tomorrow, he says, because you don't even know what's going to happen. You don't even know what's going to happen today, let alone tomorrow, so don't boast, don't brag about tomorrow. Now, James teaches us this in the New Testament. In James chapter 4, verses 13 through 15, James says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell, make a profit. Whereas you don't know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It's even a vapor that appears for a little time and then it vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we shall live and do this and that." Don't boast about tomorrow because you don't know what tomorrow holds. In Proverbs 16, verse 9, 10 chapters earlier, Proverbs chapter 16, verse number 9, Solomon taught us this: "A man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his steps." So have some plans, have some ideas. Don't just be like, well, I can't control tomorrow, therefore I have zero ambitions or goals or plans for my life. Have some plans, but be flexible in those plans because you're not in control. You're not in control of tomorrow, let alone today. None of us, James says, are promised tomorrow. Our life's like a vapor. You can have all these great plans, and you're not even going to end up being here. So have some flexibility about the tomorrow stuff that you got planned. And if it's something you really don't want to do today, you might as well put it off tomorrow, because tomorrow you might not be here, and then you won't have to do it. Verse 2 of Proverbs 27. "Let another man praise you, and not your own mouth, a stranger, and not your own lips." Let another person praise you. If you praise yourself, we call that bragging. That generally doesn't sit well. No one really likes listening to someone brag about themselves. But if someone else is praising you, if someone else is seeing what you've accomplished or what God's doing in your life and they're talking about it, that's acceptable. But when you're talking about it, well, that's just kind of bragging, and no one's really into that. No one wants to hear you do that. Verse 3, "A stone, it's heavy, and sand is weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than both of them." Stones are heavy, sand is heavy, but the wrath that's going to come on a fool, it's heavier than anything else that you could imagine. It's heavier than rocks, it's heavier than sand. Verse 4, "Wrath is cruel, and anger is torrent. But who is able to stand before jealousy?" Well, we've talked about how serious wrath is. It's heavier than stones and sand. And now we see that wrath is cruel, verse 4. We know that anger is a problem. It's like a torrent. But the thing that'll really get anyone, the thing that no one's really able to stand against, is jealousy. Man, jealousy is the thing that can really cause you to do some pretty crazy, wild, stupid things. I mean, we have a lot of great examples of this throughout the Bible, starting almost there at the beginning. We get one generation into humanity, Adam, Eve, then they have Cain and Abel, right? And Cain ends up killing his brother Abel. The heart of it, essentially, jealousy. He's jealous towards his brother, and he kills him. You get a little deeper into the book of Genesis, there more towards the end. You got Joseph. His dad gives him this awesome coat, this coat of many colors, and Joseph's talking about a dream he had about his brothers bowing down to him. They didn't really like that, and they get jealous of him. So his brothers throw him into a pit. They sell him into slavery. Jealousy causes Cain to kill his brother. Jealousy causes Joseph's brothers to sell him into Egyptian slavery. Ultimately, we see when we get to 1 Samuel that Saul, the current king of Israel, gets super jealous of David, who's been prophesied to be the next king of Israel, and it makes Saul act like a complete idiot. Saul is lobbing arrows and throwing spears at David and doing all sorts of crazy things, all because he has jealousy. And it's something we got to watch out for in our lives. It's something that can creep in, and it's something that we love to hold on to, and we think we have right justification and value in feeling jealous about situations and people. And people actually love to even feed into the jealousy that we might have and try to build it up in our lives. But it can cause us to do things that we have no business doing. So my suggestion and what I want to be sensitive to in my life is where I sense that, where I feel that I pray and have the Lord really help me when it comes to jealousy particularly, because we just don't want it in us. Verse 5, open rebuke, it's better than love carefully concealed. Two options. Someone can rebuke you openly. You're walking down the street, your zipper's undone. Hey, your zipper's undone. Oh, come on. Why'd you have to say that in front of everyone? Oh, I don't know, because your zipper's undone. It's better for you to know and zip it up than for me to just be quiet. He says open rebuke is better than love carefully concealed. I'm just going to keep my love quiet. I love them, so I'm not going to tell them his zipper's down. Tell them. Let them know, even if you have to say it in front of people real quick to fix the problem. And on this idea of open rebuke is better than love that's carefully concealed, verse 6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. The wounds of a friend, those equal faithfulness. Kisses of enemies, those equal deceitfulness. You would think, I'd rather be kissed than, well, it depends on by who, but I'd rather be kissed is the idea than wounded. Well, unless the friend's the one who's bringing the wound, and the wound is actually causing correction or something that's going to help make you better, and then those wounds of the friends are actually much more beneficial to your life than an enemy just kissing you and talking you up and letting you do and go in the direction that you want to go in. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, Paul reminds us of this idea of like wounds of a friend that's maybe telling you hard things that maybe even hurt you in the moment, but is good in the long run. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, it says, but speak the truth in love. That's the wounds of a friend. It's truth and love, and sometimes it's hard truth. If you think about it like you go to the doctor, and the doctor maybe has to cut into you, has to create a wound in order to get something bad out of you so that ultimately you can heal. It's a wound that's bringing about healing. In the same way, faithful are the wounds of a friend over the kisses of an enemy. They're just done in deceit. Verse 7, a satisfied soul loathes the honeycomb, but to a hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. The satisfied soul, someone who's really full, someone who's eaten too much, and you go to the junkyard and you eat a bunch of food, and then they go, do you have any room for cheesecake? Oh, I wish, but I just ate way too much of whatever I just ate. And it's like, I would love cheesecake. Cheesecake would taste good. Cheesecake would taste better than even what I just ate. But there's just no room for it because I'm full of other things. The satisfied soul, it loathes the honeycomb, the dessert, if you will. But the hungry soul, man, every bitter thing is sweet to it. You haven't eaten in quite a while, and you go to some mediocre place. It's like, you got anything to eat? Yeah, I don't really like that, but today I do, right? It's like, I don't really like tuna sandwiches, but if I'm hungry enough, they'll taste pretty good. So when you're hungry, even things you don't like, even the bitter things can appear to be sweet. Verse number 8, like a bird that wanders from its nest is a man who wanders from his place. A bird that wanders away from home, wanders from his nest, is just like a man who's kind of wandered off his path. God's got a place, God's got a path that he wants you walking in. You can wander off that path. You don't want to be like that. Verse 9, ornament or ointment and perfume delight the heart, and the sweetness of a man's friend gives delight by hearty counsel. Ointment, perfume, cologne smells good. It delights the heart. A nice perfume on someone you enjoy. It just kind of, it's pleasant to you. He says, in the same way, sweetness of a man's friend gives delight by a hearty counsel. A good counsel from a friend, good advice from someone who you care about is pleasant for you. Verse 10, do not forsake your own friend or your father's friend, nor go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor nearby than a brother far away. Don't forsake your own friends. That's good. Also, don't forsake people that are friends with your dad, because if they're friends with him, they probably may be kind of like you. So don't forsake your own friends. Don't forsake the friends of your father. Nor, when something goes down, when something bad happens, when you need a friend, when you need a brother, when you need someone to help you out, nor go to your brother's house in the day of calamity. It's better to just go across the street, across the road to a neighbor that's nearby than to travel all the way to your brother who's far away. Or it's better to have friends close to you and have them help minister to you and help you in situations than when something goes wrong and you think, oh, I got to pack up and run to my actual brother. Well, sometimes there's friends and neighbors that are much more closer geographically and maybe even closer relationally that are able to help you in that situation instead of having to go all the way to a brother. The idea of nor there in verse 10 is like no need. There's no need to go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. It's better to just go to your neighbor nearby than your brother who's far away. Verse 11, my son, be wise and make my heart glad that I may answer him who reproaches me. A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. The simple pass on and are punished. A prudent man kind of can see ahead or over the situation, see evils around the corner. We keep going this way. We keep pursuing this direction. We keep walking this way. Calamity, evil, bad things are going to take place. So we're going to avoid this situation. We're going to go around this problem. He's able to avoid evil. He's able to see it coming and get out of the situation. The simple man, and the simple man that's described in Proverbs is never a good thing. It's not simple like simple, like better than complicated. It's simple like slow or stupid or foolish is the idea. The simple man, he doesn't see what's coming down, and he just kind of walks right into evil, and he does it over and over and over again. He doesn't learn his lesson. Verse 18, take the garment of him, verse 13, take the garment of him who is surety for a stranger and hold it in a pledge when he is surety for a seductress. Solomon constantly warns against surety, putting something of your own up for collateral on someone else, because if they don't pay, then it is on you. Verse 14, who blesses his friend, this is real good. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, it will be counted a curse to him. I'm pretty sure Solomon just told us right here, be quiet in the morning. I'm blessing you, my friend, bright and early. It's like, shh, your bless is a curse to me right now. Just give me some time. Look at me, I'm blessing you early in the morning with a loud voice. No, it's a curse. Just be quiet for a while. Verse 10, continual dripping on a very rainy day, like we've just experienced, and a contentious woman are alike. They're the same thing, Solomon says. How are they the same thing? Well, continuous dripping, continually meaning it never stops. Never stops, and continuous dripping, so you got a leak, drip, 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 drip in your ceiling, so you got a leak in your sink, and you hear drip, 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 or your toilet's leaking, drip, drip, drip. It's annoying. It never stops, and it's annoying, and he says that's just like a contentious woman. They're the exact same thing. He talked about contentious men earlier, back in chapter 26, verse 21, I think, how a charcoal is for a burning coals and wood on fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. Now in 27, verse 17, or verse 15, he talks about a contentious woman. Verse 16, he goes on to say, whoever restrains her, this contentious woman, restrains the wind and grasps oil with his right hand. To restrain a woman like this, to kind of control a woman like this, it's like restraining the wind. You ever try to control the wind? His point doesn't work. It's like, here's oil, and you're going to grab a hold of oil, and you think you're going to have oil, come out in your hand, it's you can't do it at this point. It's impossible. Verse 17, as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. That's a good proverb as well. Just like iron rubbing against another piece of iron can sharpen it, so too, friends are able to sharpen the countenance of their friends. And I've written in the margin of my Bible, when you get together with your friends or your family or your spouse or at church or whatever the case might be, here he's specifically talking about friends. When you get together with friends, you're either sharpening each other or you're dulling each other. That's kind of your option. You're either rubbing together through life and you're sharpening each other, you're getting better, you're learning more, you're praying together, this is good, you're moving forward, or you're getting together and you're kind of doling each other down. And with both of those things, iron is rubbing together. And with both of those things, sparks fly sometimes. But just because sparks are flying doesn't mean sharpening's happening. Sometimes I've seen people use this verse to justify being jerks to each other. It's like, well, iron sharpens iron, and we're just hashing this out. It's like, if no one's sharper at the end, you didn't do it right. You just doled each other out, actually, and that's not what the Bible wants. Verse 18, whoever keeps the fig tree will eat its fruit. So he who waits on his master will be honored. Whoever keeps the fig tree or takes care of the fig tree gets to be there when the fruit is produced, gets to enjoy the fruit from the tree that it kept, that you were taking care of. In the same way, you're serving the master, and the master blesses you. You take care of the tree, you're hanging around by the tree. When the tree finally bears fruit, you get to enjoy its fruit. You serve the master, Jesus, you're hanging out with Jesus. When the fruit comes, you're there to be able to enjoy it. You get to enjoy of the fruit. Verse 19, as is water, face reflects face, so a man's heart reveals the man. They didn't really have mirrors back then. They could polish bronze maybe to accomplish some stuff, but a real place you could see your reflection is in water sometimes. It's just like you look into water and you're seeing your face with your face, so too a man's heart reveals the man. A man's heart gets revealed through him. Verse 20, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of a man are never satisfied. We're always looking for more. Our eyes are never satisfied. Worldly wise, fleshly wise, lustly wise. We've talked about this before. Lust is never satisfied. And just like hell and destruction are never full, so too man's eyes are never satisfied. You never say, and here's how I know this is true, because if tonight I would lose my vision, do you know what I'd say? I wish I could see again. I wouldn't say, well, I've seen enough. I've seen enough in 29 years. I don't need to see again until I die. No, I'd be upset. I'd be like, I wish I could see, because I want to keep seeing more. I always want to see more. I do this when I go on hikes, just around the next corner, just up the next. I just want to see what's up there. I just want to see more, see what's up there. You never see enough. So we're never satisfied in our flesh is the idea. Verse 21, the refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, and a man is valued by what others say of him. Yes and no. This is true in the sense of, because you can have your own opinion of yourself, which is important to a certain level, but what really matters is what people say about you, in the sense of they're not blinded by you. You're blinded by yourself when it comes to self-evaluation, but there is a level in life, too, where it doesn't really matter what people say about you, except for if what they're saying about you is directly related to your actions and how you treat them, then it kind of does matter what they say about you, because they're just saying what they've observed from you with their mouth. They're just relaying their experience that they've had with you out of their mouth. And if it's negative and it's true, then maybe that should cause you to change the way you're dealing with people or treating people. So in that sense, it matters. But there is a sense where if you just walk around being concerned what everyone thinks about you, that's really not a good life, because you're never going to be able to satisfy people either. The point is, your view of yourself is skewed because you're seeing you through your own eyes, and your eyes really like you. Other people's eyes can be a lot more honest. Verse 22 is a funny one. Though you grind a fool in a mortar with a pestle along with crushed grain, yet his foolishness will not depart from him. You could take a fool grinded up is still a fool. You could take a fool and you could grind him in there just like you grind grain down, and you can push and you can grind and you can squish him and you can change the form of him. But a fool is a fool no matter how you package him or no matter what you do to him, is the idea. So even if you grind up a fool is still going to be a fool. Verse 23 says, "Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. For riches are not forever, nor does a crown endure to all generations." Be diligent to know what you've been entrusted with to take care of, to know the state of your flocks, to attend to your herds. Verse 24, you got riches. Riches aren't forever. You got a crown. A crown is not going to endure for all generations. For a while, maybe, yeah, but even when you look at these kings throughout the Bible, they get, a son or two that's a bit of a goofball and kind of blows it all. Verse 25, when the hay is removed and the tender grass, that fresh grass, shows itself, and the herbs of the mountain are gathered in, the lambs will provide your clothing, and the goats the price of the field. You shall have enough goat milk for your food, for the food of your household, and the nourishment of your maid servants. There'll be enough. God will take care of your animals or provide for you if you, verse 23, are diligent to know the state of your flock and attend to your herds. Now, I can't help, especially when I first read this, and even now when I read Proverbs 27, verse 23, when Solomon says, "Be diligent to know the state of your flock and attend to your herds," I kind of see this speaking to pastors as well. I know that's not quite the context, but I see this speaking into my life. Be diligent to know the state of the flock, of the church, and attend to the herd. Take care of them. In 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 1 through 4, Peter kind of uses this imagery of leaders in the church, of pastors. Actually, the idea of a pastor is literally just a shepherd. He uses this similar imagery, which I like because, Peter in 1 Peter chapter 5, we're going to look at verses 1 through 4. He's writing and he's exhorting other people, other leaders in the church to shepherd the flock of God, the church of God. I like that Peter does that because we know that one of those conversations that Peter had with Jesus after his resurrection on the shores of the Sea of Galilee was, "Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my sheep." Jesus, the good shepherd, relayed to Peter, who would ultimately become a shepherd of God's people as well, a leader in the church, feed them well, feed them well, feed them well, take care of them. Later on in Peter's life, that's still something that's on his heart. So he says this, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1, "The elders who are among you I exhort, I who am a fellow elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that will be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God which is among you, serving as overseers, not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly, nor as being lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that does not fade away." Know the state of the flock. Be there to attend to their needs. I think this is a good verse back in Proverbs 27, verse 23, for those of us who have been entrusted to oversee God's people. And I wish I did this better sometimes. The people I do this good for, I do it good for, and I think if you've experienced it, you've seen it, but I know there's plenty of people that have slipped through the cracks, and it discourages me. One of the hardest things on Sunday mornings is realizing there's no way I can talk to everyone that comes through these doors between both services. It's like I wish I could just have enough time to know, and I try to make myself available through like prayer and stuff. Like what I never want is like if someone is having surgery that week, I want them to be able to come and let me know they're having surgery and be prayed for. I want to give them that opportunity because I would hate for someone in our church to go through something like that where they should have been prayed for and they didn't get prayed for because we just overlooked it and there wasn't an opportunity for that to be made. So one of the things I'm trying to accomplish through standing over there is to be able to know the needs of the flock through praying for you guys. Now, the problem with that is that I'm very limited, and actually here starting pretty soon, we're going to try to get more people available to pray after service, which will maybe free me up to stand out here instead and talk to people while they're leaving and greet people while they're coming in. If you still need prayer, we can do a little drive-by prayer. That's okay. But sometimes when I'm over here, I get cornered. I get trapped. It's not a bad thing, but I can just get trapped. And there's just all these people. And it's like, oh, there's a new face I wish I could run go talk to, but here's an immediate need right in front of me. So we're trying to get a prayer team to help me with praying over here during services or after services so that I can try to move around a little bit more. And if you're interested in being on the prayer team to pray after service, you can talk to Karen Slag, and she will get you on the rotation. So anyway, all that came together. What's my point? Oh, back in Proverbs 27, verse 23. I see this applying to me, but here's the even better news. Be diligent to know the state of your flock and attend to your herds. You know, in Psalm 23, verse 1, we learn this, that the Lord is our shepherd. Psalm 23, 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And then in John chapter 10, verse 27, knowing the state of the flock and being there to take care of them, Jesus says this about his relationship with us as his people. John 10:27, he says, my sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. We belong ultimately to his flock, and he knows us. He cares about us. He attends to his flock. He knows what's going on. He knows what state we're going through. And he's there to help us. He's there to attend to us. And the good news about Jesus is he's way more available than I am. You can call to him whenever, and it doesn't go to voicemail. So we can find comfort in that. So there's Proverbs 26 and 27. Next week, we'll probably do the next two, 28, 29, and then, like I said, the week after, 30 and 31, and then we'll be done. And September 17th, right around there, we'll do a Q&A night, and then we'll get into the book of Ecclesiastes. On Sunday, we're finishing up the book of Colossians. Colossians chapter 4, a short chapter, so read ahead, and we'll accomplish that this Sunday. So let's pray.